Welcome. This is an actual play of a role playing game. All the participants are adults. The content is intended for adult viewers. We strive to keep the content PG to PG 13, but it is a horror story and may contain horror themes. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy. Howdy, friends and floorheads. It is Tuesday night and a game that is long overdue. Zoe, I've missed you.
I've missed you too, Craig. I'm here.
So, quick recap for those that are not watching back to back. Layla Khan woke up in the hospital in just outside of Bulgaria in 2022. She could not remember the last 12 months of her life. Before then, though, she remembered being a spy for the British Secret Service. She remembered investigating some underworld activities and doing spycraft here in Bulgaria or Budapest, not Bulgaria, Budapest, which is part of Bulgaria. She quickly found out she's being chased. She escaped from the hospital, escaped the clutches of a man that she recognized as somebody that she used to work with. She escaped and went to a farm. There, she realized that she had an old contact there, an old man who had a stash for her that she had kept in his barn. She also realized, in a flash of memory, that she was in the same room at some point in her life, probably in the last 12 months, when the son of this old man was killed, somebody who the old man depended on her for taking care of. She then makes it into downtown Budapest, finds another underworld contact that she's obviously had a long-term relationship with, and who also has a bit of an apartment safe house that she had been using. And after a good night's sleep there, she gets word that she should meet somebody at a church. You, Layla, went to that church. It was this old church that was kind of dug into the side of this small mountainous hill in the middle of Budapest, which is actually a real place, by the
You can go visit it. It's really cool.
way. And there you met an old man, a doctor. His name is Doctor. Where did it go? Hullier. You met Doctor Hullier, and he, said, glad that you've come back. Kind of hinted at being aware of your past. And right when you noticed he had an earpiece in his ear, the people that chased you at the hospital began chasing you inside of this church. So as you tried to escape out the back of the church, you met a bodybuilder of a woman who called herself Stokovich. She's got a masculine military haircut, and she led you through this labyrinth of caves to safety. The one thing you noticed as she was leading you through these caves is that despite the fact that you couldn't see your hand in front of your face in the darkness, she, without a flashlight or anything, had no trouble navigating and getting you out. Takes you to the back of the church, puts you in a black van. You now take off in this black van. In the front seat and in the passenger seat, two large men. In the back of this black van are the three of you: the doctor, yourself, and Miss Stokovich. The doctor seems a little cagey. Stokovich mentions that he needs to be paying extra considering everything that's happened, at which point you threw money at her saying
Just
that's
like,
not a
okay, here
problem.
you go.
You had come across a folded picture, a photograph of a ornate silver cross that was on this red velvet pillow, and you've kept that on your person. And being suspect of this woman, you thought it would be a good idea to just see what her reaction would be to seeing this picture. And as you were about to expose this picture to her in the van, Dr. Hollier quickly pressed the picture back up against your chest so you couldn't show it to her and whispered to you, no. At which point, seems somewhat reluctantly, you're still very suspicious, I think, of everybody in this van. You folded up the picture and you put it away. So that's where we're going to start. We're in this black van that's speeding through the streets of Budapest. There's all types of sense of urgency and tension in this van as you're driving or riding. The sights and the windows out the back of the van are a blur. It's street lights and they're shining into the van and kind of creating this disorienting flashing as you're driving. You can hear the roar of the van's engine, and this woman is yelling at the man driving and saying in Hungarian, "Drive faster, we have to lose them." And you see the headlights of people that are not driving normally through these winding streets of Budapest. They are chasing you. You are keeping your head on a swivel the whole time, you told me, watching behind you, watching in front of you, watching to the side of you. Stokovich is also doing the same. Tires are screeching. The driver is very adept, very good at what he does. And finally, for the first time, as you fold the picture up, you realize that the headlights that were speeding behind you don't seem to be there anymore. The driver at the front says in Hungarian, "I think we've lost them." Stokovich then finally settles down. She sits at the bench across from you and the doctor. And she turns to the doctor and she says, "How much have you told her?" And the doctor kind of shakes his head. He goes, I don't even know how much she remembers. I don't know. I haven't had an opportunity to tell her much. How much do you remember?"
Well, to be honest, not a lot. But here, why don't we all get on the same page? And since we have a little bit of breathing room, why don't I do a little story time? And then I'll divulge exactly what I remember. Waking up in the hospital, it was springtime when I last remembered. I believe it's winter time now, or like fall, autumnish. Um, I had those brief little like flashback memories of this really menacing individual who killed someone I was very close to, as well as this vermin monster winged creature that flipped my vehicle.
Yeah, I forgot about that. The
Yeah,
giant bat creature.
how could you forget about that? It haunts my nightmares. um, as well as this uh, just like this general idea that I was around and present in Budapest, but I don't remember any of it. But people have seen me as early as 3 months ago.
Yeah. So the doctor says, "It is good that the rose water is working, but obviously her memory has not returned. Layla, we have been working together for a year now.
All
It
right.
has been you, myself, Rostami, as well as the father, Father Loretti. You have been under the spell of a man named Djokovic.
That's what his name was. Thank you.
He's vampire. You've been a thrall. You've been under his spell.
In the quiet words of the Virgin Mary, come again?
We were able to extract you from his grip. What you have been drinking, the water, it's
She takes
only
up
temporary.
the flask and looks at it.
How
So
much
this,
do you have left?
I kind of like shake it and feel the side of it for the cold contents. Um, I'd say maybe like what, a quarter left, maybe enough for another shot. Um, well, I have about a shot left. If we're being sparing, maybe two.
Okay. I hired her. He is gesturing towards this woman.
Hmm.
I hired her to help extract you back to the safe house. But and you're really kind of, I think, almost more focused on him than maybe you would be. Maybe even for a half a second letting down your guard, because as he gestures to her, you see her gun pointed at him.
Oh boy.
She says, "Before you start with your lies," he said, it's okay, Layla. She has the father, but she's promised that if I introduce you to her, that they will take us back to the safe house. And then you can talk to her and you can talk to us and make your decision."
All right. Well, if you wouldn't mind lowering the gun, it is a small enclosed space, and you don't have a silencer, so that will hurt my ears exponentially. And also, I think I've been shot at enough tonight. Um, could we perhaps just cool our jets just a little bit? I'm still trying to make sense of everything, and really, that gun is not helping, dear.
Let's have our first roll this
Yeah.
time. Let's take a look here. So this is definitely going to be interpersonal.
Mhm. Mhm.
And are you, so the two interpersonal skills? So this is a gumshoe system for those of you watching. So in this case, there's no roll needed here. She has points in her interpersonal skills, which she can spend, and I'll tell her how much she spends. Will give her a certain amount of reaction. So I guess the first question is you've got, I think this is either reassurance or intimidation. What are you
Mm.
thinking?
I think it's reassurance.
Okay.
I think it's reassurance. It's
So
it's just like, all right now, I understand that you're very menacing and you've done a very good job thus far, but I don't think we need that right now, dear.
so for no spend, I'm going to have her not put the gun away, but kind of lower it.
Yeah,
Okay.
at least like settle down.
At a full spend, at a point spend, I think you have a point left in reassurance. I'll have her put the gun down to the side of her. She won't put it away, but she'll have it
Mhm.
within quick arm's reach. So you can decide if you want to spend the point or not, if you're good with just her lowering the gun.
I I won't spend the point. I'm good with her just lowering the gun so it's not right in our faces. Because I do still want her to be vigilant. I do still kind of want her to be aware and ready at a moment's notice should headlights come around the back or gunshots happen outside.
So the doctor mentioned then you can, when we get back to the safe house, then you can make your decision. And in which case she immediately says as she lowers her gun uh after your reassurance, she says, "Allow me to tell you your choice.
I'm all ears.
You can go with these slayers, these amateurs, meet, or I have a plane ready to get you out of here."
And just sorry to interrupt you. Where is this plane going? Just so I have all the facts.
We'll be going east, but more importantly, it's not where you're going, it's who you're going to.
Ah,
You see, I am as you,
a thrall, yes?
but our masters are very different. Your master is a savage, an animal, and a disgrace. Carlyle is a kind vampire. He
Carla.
can turn you, and you can join us.
Join you on what?
He does kind work. He
Like
studies the arts.
Good Samaritan work?
We take care of things. He does good work. The doctor interrupts you both. This is this is not the way to the safe house. No, 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 no. We're not going to the safe house. This is not the way to, sir. And he kind of reaches up to to go to the front cab, and she grabs his hand and she says, I can't afford for you to lose her back to Djokovic. We're going to the airport. Once I get her on the plane, I'll release the father.
Now, hold on just a moment there. I do believe I was given a choice. If you bring me to the airport and force me on that plane, that is removing my agency, is it not?
The doctor talked about you having a choice. We don't have a choice, Layla. You will fall back under Djokovic's spell any minute now. You're almost out of this tinkering water that he has made. We don't have time. If he can sense you again, you will never get out of here. You will fall back under his spell. This is your only chance. Don't don't listen to her, Layla. We can get you the cross. The cross will break it, and then we can hunt them all down.
You
She's
mean this cross opens it up and shows it?
she's gonna reach to grab it.
I'm not gonna let her.
Okay.
Hell no.
So
This
you
is
pull it back,
mine.
and she goes,
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this something that you want? I thought I didn't have a choice in the matter.
"Where did you get that photo? How do you have a photo of this?" She turns to the doctor and she goes, "We have the cross. It'll break her, it'll break you, it'll free all of us. And then we can all together, you can join us, the Slayers, and we can take all of these vampires down. This is a fable." She brings her gun up to his head. "This is the only way, doctor."
All right. I think I've had quite enough of both of you tonight. And Layla's gonna get up in the small little van. She's gonna go to the back door and she's gonna open it. And she's gonna lean on the other side of the door, the closed one. She's like, well, if I don't have a choice, then I'm gonna make my own because I don't particularly enjoy having agency taken from me. So it's either you go to the safe house as the doctor originally intended, and we deal with this now, or I tuck and roll out the back of this van and find my own way. Those are your options.
She
My
looks at
hand
you,
is slipping. I'm sorry. I can't really. Whoop, there's a big bump. Oh, streets of
and the
Budapest
wind
are not
so
paved.
the wind is just filling
hmm
the
hmm
noise of the streets, and it's starting to rain, of course, because this is a horror
Of
film,
course it
right?
is. Lightning
And
strikes, thunder, the whole
yes,
deal.
and you as you're hanging there, the car there is you look back, there is nobody chasing you.
Mhm.
You're maybe going 40 miles an hour.
It would hurt to tuck and roll, but I could do it.
She's looking at you, looking at him, looking you can see her trying to go through this decision matrix in her head.
Mhm.
And two things happen at once.
Oh, okay.
The doctor yells an address to you
Okay.
as the bullet goes through his forehead. And the echo of the noise of that gun just fills
Oh,
the
yeah.
back of the cabin.
Layla,
old
let's
man's
go.
head hits the metal of the side of the van. The driver is startled, and he
Yep, jerks
jerks
the
the
wheel.
wheel.
I let go.
Okay.
I look quickly to find some kind of soft landing. Maybe there's a haystack. That would be beneficial. Uh, or like, I don't know, a fruit stand, a lettuce cart, literally anything. A chicken coop. I'll take it.
Alright, so this is definitely gonna be an athletics roll.
Mhm.
It's definitely gonna be a difficulty 6,
Ugh.
but I'm gonna give you a couple options here.
Mhm.
1, you can definitely spend on athletics. You're at full at 6 out of 6 points on athletics. But I think better than that, I wanna look here. You've got urban survival. You can
I do.
spend from either of those to add to this roll. So for those of you watching, she's gonna roll a d6. She has the ability to add numbers to that. So in theory, if she were to spend a total of 5 points, she's guaranteed to tuck and roll. Um, but she needs to hit a 6 either by the die roll or whatever point she adds to the die roll. So this is where Layla needs to decide what she's gonna do.
I think I'm gonna add one with athletics and one with urban survival.
+2,
So +2. Um,
and then roll it off of athletics.
yeah. Oop.
So it only measured your athletic spend, not your other spend. So
Oh, got
you
you.
rolled a 4
Mhm.
+1
+2.
+1 from the spend on the
Yep.
urban survival. So that is
Yep.
gonna get you to a
That's a
6.
6. Boom.
I would
Did it.
love to know what happens when you let go of that door.
Oh boy. Several things happen at once, Craig. So not only are my ears ringing from the deafening sound of the gunshot, but there is also a blood splatter that covers the front of my body because head. And it's raining, it's thundering, all this wonderful thing. She looks very quickly outside. There's no car following, which is wonderful because she won't get run over. But she basically just lets go and covers her chest and her head and rolls, letting the momentum carry her wherever it's going to carry her, letting gravity take hold and smashing into, let's say, a fruit stand.
So, and where I want the urban survival to come in is you do this on a corner. So you know they've slowed down. You know the momentum is going to
Mhm.
bring you to the side of the street and it takes you directly into this covered fruit stand. You crash into it. It's taking a second for her to yell orders. The door is flapping open. You see her grabbing like you can see the silhouette of her and you can see that she's yelling back, and the tight streets, they're not going to be able to do just a 180. So you
Yeah, they're
have a
not going to be able to turn around.
you've got a moment.
Mhm. I get up out of the orange crate that I have stumbled into, kind of brush off whatever smashed fruit I have, also take a bite because I'm a big fan of oranges, um, and proceed to then stick to the streets and the carts and the stalls to make it so that even if they did turn the van around, they couldn't bring it past, though they couldn't bring it down that street because there's too many stalls, there's too many structures, right? They would have to crash through them in order to do that, which would cause noise, it would cause attention, and it would cause a lot of distress. Also, it would probably ruin that van.
And for those of you watching, reminder on here, like your Craig 40-mile-an-hour van, she's going to tuck and roll safely out of this. We are talking to a super spy. That's who we're dealing with here. We're dealing with the best of the best Jason Bourne level skill levels here.
Oh my god,
So
it's Jason Bourne. It's
you
me.
got
Hi.
go in and we I need you to mark off the 1 point for urban survival on your sheet.
Sure.
So go
Yep.
ahead and do that spend. And then for an additional urban survival spend, you are a ghost in the wind.
Yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and do that second spend.
Boop. Done.
So as you work your way through the labyrinth, you are not sure where you are, but pretty quickly you're able to piece together the stars, the buildings, the type of architecture, what part of Budapest you're in. You
Cool. The
quickly
bazaar.
you figure out where you are.
Mhm. takes very little time for me to vanish.
You are gone. No sign of the van. No sign of them. Now, let's talk about your memories.
Hmm.
You've got the one apartment,
Yep.
which is completely on the other side of the city from where
It's
you are.
a long, long
So
walk.
long height, right? But Sam is there.
Hmm.
And I think we've established that we somewhat trust Sam as far as anybody can.
We we trust Sam about as far as we can throw him,
Or
which
pay him.
or pay him. We could pay him more than we can throw him.
Right. You and you know your bike is there, your
Hmm.
bag is there.
My bag is there.
The church, you have a sense of where the church is.
Yep.
The address that he yelled at you, you know that's in the warehouse district,
Hmm.
which may be 2 or 3 miles away, closer than the apartment.
Yep.
But you grab onto a light post and you start to feel a little dizzy.
Well, I did just jump out of a moving vehicle. That was not prudent of me, really. I mean, my only other option was to get shot. So here we are. Just take a moment, Layla. It's all right. It's all right. Just breathe.
You're remembering another address,
Another address.
a third address,
Ooh, a secret third address.
which you know to be about the same distance, though not on the way, as this warehouse district that the doctor, God rest his soul, yelled at you. You can see the front of this brownstone in your mind. You can see that address
Hmm.
and you can see the door opening. And the man that opens that door in this memory, this foggy, like just strange flash memory,
Hmm.
is a face that you have seen not only in the past when you were partners, but you saw at the hospital and you heard his voice in the caves. As best as you can piece together, this is where Sinclair lives.
Is Sinclair's place closer than the other address?
That would make things too easy for you, Zoe. They're gonna be the same distance.
Of course they are. Of
The only
course
thing
they
that's
are.
not close is the apartment, but you could
Hmm.
make it to the apartment.
I really, whew, you're making this difficult on me. Let's see. All right, Layla. Let's see. I can't make it to the apartment. It's too far. They'll be on the streets like rats as soon as they realize that I've been in the market district, which, while fine now, would be terrible later. So, can't make it to Sam's. Also, can't get Sam involved, really. That would just be rude. Bringing a bunch of people to his apartment, unwelcome. Can't go back to the church because if that woman's people are there, then I would just be walking into a trap. So, really, the only option I have left is this new address in the warehouse district and good old Sinclair, who has given me every reason to distrust him, but also we've worked together. I'm sure if I showed up at his doorstep dripping wet and covered in blood, he might, I don't know, let you in for a nice cup of tea or shoot you directly in the face. Well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and I'd rather not go to this warehouse district alone. If she looks up at the rain, if this is some kind of cruel joke, I hope you're having a good long laugh. And she's going to make her way to Sinclair's place.
Let's go ahead and cut to you very stealthily, no points needed, right? You get yourself to that street. You're in an alley across kind of catty corner to this brownstone. It is a very, very nice section
Of course it
of
is.
town, and it's not built old world. You can tell that these are they've torn down the legacy buildings that were here, the history that was here, and it's now got these fancy modern buildings. And you can see the brownstone, you can see the stairs that lead up to the door. The exact same thing you saw in that flash memory. I want to talk a little bit about some of the feelings that we've talked about with Sinclair.
Mhm.
Um, no doubt. In fact, even Sam intimated this to you that the two of you were partners. You both worked for Her Majesty's Secret Service. He told you that he had not seen you together in months. He was the first memory that came back to you as you escaped the hospital. When you saw his face, you had just this mixed feeling of betrayal and trust all at once. He definitely was in the caves chasing you out of the church or trying to get you in the church. And as you stand there now, you have vague memories of being very close to him. It never crossed the line, but the two of you flirted with it in complete equals. You both knew you could never cross this line, but it was a lot of fun to
Yeah.
flirt with it together, right? Incredibly competent, as good as you were, but in different things. He was more of a um traditional agent,
I
which
was
was
the
a
reckless one.
wonderful balance to you. So together, you guys were incredibly effective as far as really, infiltrating Eastern Europe and the Eastern European diplomacy channels as well as the underworld. But that betrayal feeling that you had when you saw him at the hospital and the fact that Sam told you had not seen him for months also drags on you.
I think Layla doesn't even realize that she has crossed the street and walked up the stairs and is standing in front of the door as she's kind of going through these feelings, nostalgia, remembering the emotions tied to her connection with Sinclair, and she probably hasn't even realized that she knocked on the door.
So you knock on the door. It's an oak door with slotted glass,
Hmm.
a door that is trying to look as old as the doors 2 blocks away that they tore down, right? So you knock, looking through the slotted glass, no
Hmm.
lights, and no answer. On the street, there is a parking spot, and it is marked with a house number, and there's no car there.
So he's out. I wonder. Um, Craig, I would like to posit something here.
Mhm.
Um, perhaps, maybe, because Sinclair and I were so close, um, there may have been some kind of unspoken uh, rule that if ever Sinclair was not home and I was in trouble and needed a safe house, I could use this place. And so perhaps, maybe underneath a potted plant or hiding in plain sight, there is a key of sorts to this door.
No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. I think the brickwork that lines both sides of the stairs that come up, under the railing on the right-hand side, there is super glued a key that's always there for you for in case of emergencies,
Wonderful.
and you reach out of instinct
Just
and feel the key.
well, he mustn't totally hate me because that wouldn't have been there if that were the case. Take the key, put it in the lock.
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
It doesn't it doesn't fit. The lock was changed.
Fuck.
And as
Ah.
you are trying to put the key in there, you look and you can tell that the padlock is not the same age as the door lock below
Oh,
it.
you went full blown electronic modern, you simpleton. Oh, these are so easy to hack. Just puts the key back, sits down, and I think I'm gonna try and hack this
I like
this
it.
simple
All right.
keypad.
So let's take a look here. What do we have to work with? So you have got what do we want to use here? I think
This
no, not tradecraft. That's not going to work.
not tradecraft, maybe electronic surveillance?
No.
Or yeah, no, that's actually sound and recording
Yeah.
equipment.
Yeah. You definitely, and I'm looking here and I'm not seeing what I want to use, but there is no doubt in my mind you can pick this lock, right? So it's not even an electronic lock, it's a traditional lock. He literally had a locksmith change the damn keys. I'm not even going to make you roll. So
All right.
right now, this is my thinking for those of you who are
Mhm.
wondering about GM thoughts, right? I've got a super spy. Obviously, she knows how to pick locks. We don't have anybody looking at her. It's in the middle of the night. Streets are empty. She believes that the apartment is empty. I think Layla has all the time in the world. So we can see you, maybe a hairpin, maybe something that you've got in the lining of of your bodysuit,
The lining of that bodysuit, baby. It's got everything I need.
and it clicks. We hear the lock go clink, and you can push it open.
Could it be any louder, Sinclair? Jeez. Open the door, close it behind me, lock it again, and proceed to walk through the house as quietly as possible.
Lights
Uh,
kept off.
Lights kept off for now.
So as you are kind of hand on the wall in the
Mhm.
hallway, right? Though this is familiar to you. Um, but immediately as you're kind of running your hand along the wall, that little side table's not there. That you just instinctively kind of move your hips to avoid
To
hitting. Then
avoid, yeah.
yeah, and then you realize it's not even there.
Huh.
And you slide down to kind of like the main living area. And there's a simple table there with a chair. The bookshelves are all empty. The furniture is all gone. You go to the kitchen and it's been used like today, but he loved glassware. I don't know why you remember that. He loved fancy glassware and all of that's gone and the fridge is on but empty.
This is this is not right.
It's like somebody moved out of here,
This is
but someone's still living here.
all right. Layla's getting some really bad vibes. So she's actually just gonna. There's one more thing she wants to check, and that if she remembers correctly, as she's thinking, remembering the glassware and his
Mhm.
obsession with those whiskey sets that have the decanter and like the really fancy glasses, she remembers that being on one of those old world like globe like stand furniture things that houses that. Layla always thought those were kitschy and stupid, but he
That's because they
delighted in
are.
because they are. But he delighted in them, and he
Yeah,
even had like a little a little pin that had the flag of the UK on it and put it like
beautiful.
on on the United Kingdom because why not? She knows that that was stashed in kind of like the study, which is like
Yep.
off the hallway out. So the living room's here, kitchen's over here, and there's like a little study area where he would usually be found drinking whiskey. She's gonna go in there and see if anything in there has changed. Specifically that very
Yeah.
kitschy, very obvious piece of furniture that
So
definitely would have belonged to him.
it's been cleared out,
Mm.
but not where you anticipated to see it. Pushed into the corner, you can see the shape of it under a cloth, like a drop cloth. You can see the shape of this globe bar.
I go over, I take the cloth off, I open the globe. Is is there whiskey in there?
There is.
Yes. Oh, Sinclair, you were always good for one thing. She takes the decanter, opens it, kind of sniffs a little bit to see if it's like been aged, like if it's just like turned to vinegar
Mm-mm.
or good, awesome. Pours herself a glass and just kind of just takes a quick little shot, cleans it out really quick, puts it back. And this is very odd. Normally I would never you would never allow me to drink alone. She takes a glass, pours another shot, and leaves it on the desk, the actual desk. Closes the globe, puts the
You hear a
cloth
key
back
going
over
into
it.
the lock.
Shit. Ah, the timing. The timing is always terrible with you. Always. All right, well, shit. You've moved all the furniture. There's no good places to hide anymore. All right, under the desk, I suppose.
All right.
The desk hasn't changed. It's still this big, heavy oak thing that hasn't moved from its normal spot. So she tucks and rolls underneath there, and oh boy,
You hear the door open. You hear the rain outside while the door is open. You hear the wet footsteps on the hardwood floors. The door closes and locks. There's this really awkward silence because whoever came in, you could hear if they kept walking, just the squish of the soles of their shoes on the hardwoods. And once the door is locked, you hear nothing except his voice. I can smell you, Layla.
he knows I'm here. Shit. I never was good at playing hide and seek with you. You changed some things.
My life has gotten simpler. Stop hiding. You're wasting our time.
She comes out from underneath the desk. She has the gun readied, by the way. There's no way she's not gonna keep her guard up.
And it's dark, right? The only
Mhm,
thing that you can really see as you kind of come back into the hall where that you can see down the way to the doors. You can see his silhouette
mhm.
from the street lights through the window slots that we talked about in the door. And it appears that he's taken off his coat, and you see him kind of neatly folding it very comfortably in front of you and kind of putting it over his arm. Layla, put the gun away. You've made a good choice.
A good choice, have I?
It's good that
It's
it's good that you've come back.
it seems that I've done nothing but make good choices lately. Um, Shame that I can't remember any of them.
You were kidnapped, my dear.
Kidnapped. Let's just add that to the ever growing docket on what has happened to me in the past 12 months.
You have been missing. We have not been able to find you.
So I've heard.
But you found me. That tells me your memories are coming back.
So you know all about the fact that my memories are missing too.
That's what that rose water will do to you. So,
So you're
Layla,
familiar with the doctor then?
of course, he's who kidnapped you. Now, Layla, let's go and see him. He misses you.
He.
Master, he misses you. He'll be very pleased that we found you. Let's go.
For the first time in the entirety of Layla's stint in waking up and having a bit of a laugh about herself in the funny situation that she's found herself in, and having these conversations with herself about, oh, everything's going to be all right, it's going to be okay, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. She has nothing to say. She doesn't have a quip. She doesn't have any witty banter. She has the gun in her hand and the whiskey in the other. And she walks up to Sinclair, very calm, very casual, and hands him the glass and says, I'm afraid I already took a bit of drink, so I remember you fondly telling me that I was never allowed to drink alone. Here's yours. You drink that, and then we'll go.
Wonderful. Boom.
Gun here, bang.
Oh! He and let's be clear here.
Mm-hmm.
You walking up to him, he knows your hand is on that gun. He's made that very clear, right? That he's
Mm-hmm.
aware of your situation.
Yep.
No, in no way was he scared, nervous. Like, you know when he has the gun under the coat, right? And he's trying
Yep.
to total comfort. You come up, you hand him the glass, and you see the little corner of his mouth just smirk a little bit of just like, and as he slams up, the gun comes under,
Boom.
and his brains hit the ceiling, and the body falls like a marionette at your feet. Oh, if there was ever the need for a stability test, it is now.
Yeah. I'll say so.
Yeah, I think that, you've killed many in your time, but this is a
Mm-hmm.
biggie. This is a
This is a
biggie
big one.
because,
This is a big one.
yeah, he was the closest maybe
Yep.
to you at any time. So I'm gonna need a
Yep.
stability test. I'm gonna need it.
Okay.
It's gonna I mean, this is cold-blooded murder, so it's gonna be
Yeah.
5. It's gonna be a 5. Now, you have a stability of 10. You've been in
Mhm.
great shape, up to this point. And I think this is the first time we've used this mechanic together. So, this is both a spend and a roll, right? So, you can do nothing and hit a 5, and you'll be better off in your stability loss. It could be 0. You'll be better off in your stability loss if you make it than you will if you don't make it. So, there's 2 levels of here, and potentially the success is 0 stability loss, not likely in this scenario. The make thing that makes it tough for the player is, yeah, you can spend stability, but that's the same as losing it.
Yeah.
So you almost have to figure out, and this is what something I love about Gumshoe, right? Like, where is the spend here, right? Where do we push our luck? Where do we figure this out? And in my mind, for the character, this is what the character is trying to put it all together, trying to put the right things in the right slots to compartmentalize. And that's what's happening with Zoe trying to figure out whether she wants to spend or not right now is Layla trying to organize this as best as she can in her mind. So what are we
Yeah,
gonna do?
I think I think we're gonna spend 3.
Oh, okay.
We're
Good.
gonna spend 3.
Good, good, good. So that's gonna be for a target number 5. So you're gonna be at +3. So you can go ahead and click on the stability to give you the option to spend. It's gonna drop your stability by default down to 7 no matter what happens. I get you to 4. You rolled a 1. You still fail. I'm gonna need you to drop 5 more stability down to
Mm.
2.
Oh my
But I would
god.
love to
Really
hear.
quickly,
Yeah.
how do I drop it,
Yeah. So if you
like, now?
go right to the sheet, you should be able to drop it. Oh, it's right down to 3. I'll click it for you. Just click on it. So I
Okay,
clicked it
okay,
for you.
cool. Oh, got you. It's up here in the corner, got it.
Yeah, upper
Okay,
left.
okay.
What is going through Layla's mind? The body falls and drops.
The sound of it, like, the gunshot was loud. Layla doesn't have a silencer on her 9 mil, and while the gunshot was deafening and echoes in this space, the sound of Sinclair's body hitting the floor is louder, and it echoes in her mind. She remembers everything with Sinclair in that moment, having first been, assigned to him as a rookie underneath the Queen's guard, well, guard, the secret agency, um, working diligently with him for crown and country, doing all of these missions, having dinners with him at his house, and really intense missions where we weren't even sure if we were going to make it out alive. Uh, but my reckless actions, my unorthodox tactics, is what usually saved us, because he was more like, we have to do it by the book. We have to follow orders and rules. And Layla's like, fuck the rules. We're gonna die. Let's go out this window, or let's do this crazy thing. Um, but it always worked out in the end. And I think she remembers a moment before she was kidnapped, or before all of this happened 12 months ago. Maybe a last car ride of being brought to the place where she was vacationing in Budapest, because she was taking a hike. She was taking vacation, and him finally, like, maybe opening up to her about how, hey, you were young and reckless, and boy, howdy, did I want to strangle you every time I saw your name next to mine on a mission, because I knew somehow it was going to go south, and it was going to go south fast. But I always looked forward to those, because those are the most exciting. And, uh, you know, wishing her well on her vacation. And if she ever needed anything, here's a phone. It's got everything that she would need if ever something bad happened. And that was kind of the last moment that she genuinely remembered of Sinclair. And the man that walked in the door tonight, the man that chased her in the caves, the man that came to the hospital, was not the Sinclair that she knew. And in that moment of him admitting, we have to go back to Master, she had to make one of the hardest and most difficult decisions in her life, which was to put Sinclair on the blacklist forever. And
And
so she is standing there, gun still positioned where it was, and tears are just cascading from her eyes.
all of those memories flood you like they were yesterday. And maybe one of the greatest platonic loves in your life is now dead at your feet. And you remember going on that vacation. And for a moment, the memories stall there as you take in what the hell you just did. And he may be different, but it's still him. And then, as if somebody hits play again, you remember Monaco. God, you deserved this. After the last 3 missions, just time for you, the books you've promised yourself you were going to read, finally spending all of this money that you have been earning and never having time to spend.
Yeah.
And you remember meeting him that night at the club. Like, so handsome, so smart, finishing each other's sentences, even that first night. Going home, back to the hotel, proud of yourself because you knew you could have made terrible choices and you didn't. But when he sent the flowers, asking you to dinner the next night, you went. And it was a whirlwind romance that was so out of character for you, Layla. You've never had time for this. And there was a part of you that knew something was off. So that when he bit you on the 3rd night, somehow you weren't surprised.
Yep.
The other memory that flashes is you coming back from Monaco. It's a quick flash of you standing in front of that man, Djokovic, and saying, "My love, I'd like you to meet Sinclair." And you realize you're the one that brought Sinclair to Djokovic, not the other way around. I think we need a 10-minute break. We'll be back in 10 minutes.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
So that last memory hits you. I don't know if it's the fact that Sinclair had left the door open for as long as he did, but it's a lot colder in this hallway than you remembered.
And the night isn't getting any younger. I think she puts the gun away, drops down, relieves him of his pistol and any other equipment he might have that will be useful to her.
Got a CB radio,
That'll do
walkie-talkie.
it. That'll do it. Um, she clicks it twice as to let the other person know, hey, I'm going to talk in a minute, because that's how these things work. And she says, she doesn't try to imitate him at all. She just says, I'm coming home. I'm sorry I've been away for so long. I don't know where to go. And she waits for an answer.
You hear kind of a gruff voice, a voice that you've not heard before. Not, I don't know, maybe you thought you'd hear him, but
Mm,
that's not who answers.
yeah.
Uh, oh, Miss Layla, um, is the boss there?
He's stepped away for a moment. He gave me the talkie to talk, I guess.
Okay, you can just go to his penthouse. We were to bring you to the penthouse.
Okay. You'll have to forgive me. I don't remember. It's all very cloudy and I'm so sorry.
He gives you an address. J- We can bring the car by.
No, no, Sinclair's going to take me. He's going to bring me, but I I just I just needed to hear that I'm going home. I'll be there soon.
We'll tell Mr. J.
Okay. Thank you. Uh Cuts it off and then breaks it. Rips off whatever cords there are, destroys them. Takes out his cell phone. Um Checks really quickly if there's any messages from any other agents.
It's a burner, right? It's a blank burner, which
Sure.
doesn't surprise you.
Doesn't surprise me. Breaks
Sinclair,
that.
yeah, Sinclair knew too much about surveillance, knew too much about electronics. He would never keep anything on a cell phone.
Yep. Destroy that. I take the SIM card just in case, but I don't expect there to be anything on it. Um, and I think I take his coat and cover him with it. Kind of sit there for a moment, pat him on the shoulder. Good work, agent.
Layla, what is it when you hear the address to the penthouse that makes you kind of want to go home?
It's a sense of having been away for so long. It's like when you travel for a long time. It could be weeks, it could be months, it could be years, but there's always something that reminds you of home, whether it's a certain drink or like a certain style of food or maybe even a scent, a smell. But there's something deeply ingrained in her psyche that just gives that comfort that you can't get anywhere else
Yeah.
but home.
And the only thing I'll add to that is hearing that address gave you all of those feelings, including the feeling of being safe,
Yeah.
which may have been 9 months ago a new feeling for Layla.
Yeah.
But even though you feel all those things, it does not overtake you. It's just something that comes to you when you hear that address.
And I think she unceremoniously stands up, humming the uh, national anthem of the UK, God Save the Queen, and closes the door and has it locked behind her. Takes his keys
Hmm.
for his car, sees his car parked in the spot.
What does he drive?
Oh, I don't know the name of the car, but it's an older vehicle only found in the UK.
Hmm.
And it's blue and it has white stripes and it's got a little bit of a like a red interior, but not like fully red. It's kind of modest, but it's very clearly a patriotic vehicle. Sinclair was a
And
man of many things, and one of those things was he was a true and tried patriot of good old England.
and when you stepped outside of the brownstone back onto the streets, the rain has let up now, and you see that car, and you're like, "Ah, I remember it before. I remember it at the hospital. I remember it chasing the van."
All right, Elizabeth, let's go. Because of course he named his car Elizabeth.
Where is Layla gonna go? So let's quick recap for everybody watching.
Mhm.
We have got the penthouse address. We've got
Yep.
the warehouse address. We've got the
Mhm.
apartment we've already visited. God rest his
Yeah.
soul, Sinclair.
God rest his soul. Ah, we are going to go back to Sam's place because I need my go bag. And I now have a means. I'm not bringing a tail with me, and frankly, I could use some sweetbread, or I don't know. Hopefully, there's some pad thai in the fridge that I can just devour.
So I'm imagining as um you've been through a lot tonight.
Hmm.
Um it's been a hard night, and I don't want to minimize any of it, but it was also hard finding parking when you get to Sam's place. um, but you find parking.
She pulls up in the car and Blitzkrieg Bop is blaring.
And you get up to Sam's. Sam's, three-fourths Sam's, a fourth Layla's. And door's unlocked. That's
Immediately, my hackles are raised. The gun is out and prepped, ready to go. I am not taking any chances. I am not going to drop my guard. I slowly open the door and I'm going to pretend as though I'm just coming home from a long night out.
there's lights on, but it's the Sam's gone to bed lights are on, right? So maybe just like a desk lamp that's on one of the side tables.
Mhm.
You see the coat rack. You see one of Sam's coats. And to Sam's credit, he always buys a coat a little bit more expensive than he probably should have. reaching in to the pocket of his coat is a woman's hand, and she's wrapped in a bed sheet. And when the door opens, she just looks at you as if she's a deer and you just brought the headlights.
Well, you're either going to continue to strip in front of me and I'm going to have a great night, or you're going to go back upstairs and pretend you never saw me.
In Hungarian, she goes, I was looking for, she's not good at this. She like, you see his wallet slip out of her hand back into his pocket. And she's stumbling. She's trying to like explain herself.
She takes out a significant amount of money and puts it in her hand and kind of sidesteps the door and is like, I'll give you 5 minutes and I won't tell a single soul.
My clothes are upstairs.
It's a shame that. She's got the gun in her hand.
And she sees the gun
Hmm.
and she takes the cash and she's out.
That's a good girl. Now then, I go up to my room. I grab my bag and all my stuff, and I go into Sam's room. I don't even bother. I just kick the door in.
And I'm going to paint the scene for you.
Please do. Give me the full illustration.
The door opens
Leave
up.
nothing out.
And not only is the sheet that she's wearing gone, but there's a sheet up against the chair to the left. There are her clothes. There are his clothes. And laying passed out on his back in this king-size bed is more of Sam than you've ever wanted to see.
You don't even have anything to write home about. How did you manage to get that? Puts the gun away, walks over, rolls him onto his side. 'Cause God forbid he fucking
Doesn't
chokes on
wake
his own vomit. Of course he doesn't wake up. Cover him with the sheet that's on the chair. Put him to bed. Maybe slap his ass because it's there. Might as well. Puts a wad of money on the little bedside table. Writes a quick note. Um, basically like a goodbye.
Mm.
Like I I have no intention of coming back. Things have gone very south and I am removing myself from the picture. Stay safe. Please, for the love of God, um, find better company. I caught her trying to steal your wallet. Maybe invest in a safe. Love, Layla. Um, and I think she hesitates for a bit. And the reason she hesitates is because she's lost a lot in the past 48 hours.
Gained a lot of
This,
memories, but lost a lot.
yeah, gained a lot of memories and lost a lot. And this is not the first time that she's had to wish someone goodbye that she will never see again because of her own choice never to see them again. Because every time she comes across someone or remembers something important about them, she ends up hurting them. And so she actually leans down and gives Sam a little kiss on his forehead and whispers in his ear, "Thank you for everything. And be well." And then she leaves.
So you get back in Elizabeth,
Yep.
turn the key, Where are we going?
We're gonna go. We're gonna go to the church.
Mm. So let's cut there. You pull up maybe a block away from the church, because the only way to kind of not be seen, you definitely want. There's no parking around this
Hmm.
church, right? It is a national monument,
Right.
right?
Yeah. You don't park near there.
No. And so we've got your go bag,
Hmm.
right? It's in Elizabeth. You're about a block away from the church.
Do I recognize any of the vans parked out here? Maybe the van that I got taken in. No. Okay.
No, it's about. I'm putting us at about 5 a.m. So you've got about an hour before Budapest starts waking up.
Yeah. I think how do I do this? Hmm. How are we going to do this? We've got. We don't want to walk in there all by our onesie. And we already know that they are on the opposite side. So perhaps if I just appeal to their better nature and say, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry about tucking and rolling and making you run around all of Budapest in the middle of the night trying to find me, but I needed answers and I've got my answers and now I need your help again. Would you please accompany me?" No, that's stupid. That won't work. Oh, let's just do it. She gets out of Elizabeth, walks over to the church, walks up to the front gate, not expecting anybody to be there, but she knows how to get in.
Yep.
She's been there before, goes to the back way, and is specifically listening and looking for the large woman there, Stokovich. Uh,
So you spend some time going through the church, and your first visit started off as this is a tourist trap,
yep.
which turned into something far more familiar, which is I'm in danger. I'm being chased. I'm familiar with this. There's layers and duplicity and all kinds of things happening. And now, as you kind of walk your way through the church, I'm not exactly sure what you expected, but it's a museum. It's just empty. They haven't even hired a night watchman.
Hmm. Find my way back to the back area. Find my way back to the caves.
Hmm.
Still nothing. There's
No,
nothing.
if anything, the only thing that's happening, I think, for Layla is that she's more impressed with Stokovich as she explores the back passages she took you through.
Mhm.
Like, it's even more confusing without following her. Like, the fact that she got you out of here at the speed she did is like,
Incredible.
yeah, hats off. Because you spend an hour
Yeah.
realizing this place is empty. And you come out the front of the back,
Out the front. That's where the car
and
is parked.
we can see the orange start to light up the sky. We know sunrise is close.
Hmm. I think frustrated and a bit put off, Layla leaves a note at the front desk. It's encrypted, but it's very easy to
Mm.
decipher. Um, and it basically says the address of the penthouse. And the message is, I'm ending this. And that's it. They have the address, they can show up if they want. She goes back to Elizabeth, starts the car, and heads. I'm trying to Zoe is trying to remember. There was Sinclair's apartment and then
The
the other.
warehouse. Yeah, so the discussion of the warehouse
Mhm,
is that's where apparently another quote unquote slayer was, right? So the slayers Stokovich said you were kidnapped by these slayers. The slayers say that they freed you via this rose water. He
mhm.
mentioned the doctor mentioned there was three of them: himself, Father Loretti,
Yep.
who apparently was being held captive now
Mhm.
by the woman's men, right?
Yep.
Carlisle's this other faction, Carlisle, whatever the fuck
Yep.
he is, right? That was being held there, and then but he never talked about who the third was.
Sure.
And this lines up, if you remember way back, there was
Mm.
a picture you saw,
Yep.
right? And there
Yep.
was a woman and a young priest and the doctor. So all of this is starting to line up a little bit. So you've got the one warehouse address where apparently Stokovich has kidnapped or held captive Father Loretti in order to get the doctor to get you to meet her.
Mhm.
You've got the penthouse, you've got Sinclair's, which you have visited, and then you've already been back to the apartment.
All right.
All kinds of options. It's like it's a
All
role playing
kinds of
game.
options. Um, I think I am gonna head to that other warehouse address before I hit up the penthouse because I think the message that I leave at the church is I'm ending this tonight. So
Got
like
it.
I'm gonna take all day to prepare for like Layla's final bout, essentially. So heading to that apartment.
It's about 7 a.m. You get to kind of this mixed use warehouse district and kind of larger retail district. This address brings you to what is obviously older, large furniture store. But the size of it tells you something very common in Budapest. You've got the first floor, like storefront, and it's all mixed use. Space is very tight, right? So you know that there'll be a store in front. There may even be like a manufacturing in the back or storage in the back. But it just says in Hungarian, very simple, no names or anything, just furniture.
I head in. Piece and pistol at my
So
hip.
we got a lot of options here, right? So we've got the front area,
Mm,
right? With a storefront, it's closed. Obviously, it's six
yeah.
o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Um, there's alleys on either side.
Mhm.
It's 2 stories. What does going in mean for Layla?
Uh, going in does not mean the front door. It has never meant the front door,
I figured that
really,
was the case.
in any instance in her life, except for at Sinclair's, um, and maybe Sam's. There are a few times she has gone to the front door, but in this instance, uh, she goes around the back, down a side alley, sees maybe a series of poles or pipes, and sees a window that's open on the second floor. Really, nobody can get into it except me. Uh, and climbs that, gets up there, sneaks in.
So you climb up, not even latched. You push the window. Like everything in Eastern Europe, everything's a little too small, but you're able to kind of work your way into the window. And it immediately takes you to a balcony. A balcony that you can see wraps around the back half of this building, and
Mhm.
it looks down on a maze of furniture. This is not the sales floor. The sales floor must be at the front half of this building.
Sure.
This must be a warehouse, right? You can look down and you can see where they store furniture.
Mhm.
It's not made here. It's all covered. It's a maze of bureaus and couches and beds and just all spread out as you can see on there. And there's a large industrial luminescent light that's kind of blinking and waving with the draftiness of this warehouse that kind of lights it all up. And you can see the railing that goes all the way around the balcony, that goes all the way around the back half of this area. Second floor on the front end of this appears to be maybe offices, but you can also on the first floor see what leads to what is likely the showroom. No sign of anybody.
Sure. Probably head to the offices then.
So you walk around and what am I gonna do here?
It does not sound great, Greg.
We're going to do a couple things. First thing I want is a sense trouble. So a sense trouble is a general skill. It needs to be rolled. But because you're Layla Khan, your sense trouble has 8 points.
Very good at sensing trouble.
You are. And this is because you're not walking in thinking this is Disneyland, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, you believe that somebody's being held captive here.
Mhm.
It's going to be difficulty 3.
Okay.
Do you want to spend any points before you roll sense trouble?
I think I'll spend 1 point just to give myself a little bit of a boost here. Oh, here we go.
There's the 6 you wanted. Gives you a 7. Oh, I'm gonna give you so much
Where
for the 7.
where were you when I needed
What
you?
I needed to keep my shit together when I killed some
Ah!
folks. Alright, so, as you're working your way around the balcony, the mustiness of the old furniture below you, I'm gonna give you a ton of information. That's a hell of a roll.
Give it to me. I'm
This
ready.
has not been actively used as a storefront or as storage in at least 4 or 5 years. The dust that you can see on the drapes over the furniture maze below you, the wear and tear on like the safety rules posters that you come across as you come around the balcony. Before you reach the offices, you quickly start to piece together that this warehouse has been used for something else
Hmm.
because you come across in the first office you reach on the other side what looks to be a planning room. There's a table. All other furniture has been pushed out or pushed to the side. There's maps of Budapest. There's pictures and strings. And
Ah, the red
this
string
is,
wall.
yeah, this is a planning room where somebody or buddies have been trying to piece together something happening in Budapest. Looking at the map of Budapest that has the pins on it, you see a pin on the penthouse. You see a pin on Sam's, on Sinclair's, on the church, and about a half dozen other places. And they've all been identified. Djokovic is labeled over the penthouse. She sleeps here is labeled on Sam's. Turned is labeled under Sinclair's apartment. And as you piece together this office, you realize, were they hunting Djokovic or were they hunting me? Or did they start hunting Djokovic and then hunted me? Or did I lead them to Djokovic? But whoever's been using this warehouse recently has been hunting either you, Djokovic, or both of you. Before we move on, anything?
Layla has this sinking feeling in the pit of her chest that then drops into her stomach about how every time she has remembered something about Djokovic, it always ends up in her being the reason why things have happened. And so she has this terrible, awful feeling that they have been hunting her and Djokovic is not the master.
Very interesting.
She then blinks rapidly, takes out the flask, opens it, and is about to take a huge swig. Remembers very quickly that I don't have a lot left, so I should use this sparingly, and takes just like half a sip.
So you take that half a sip and it has that same feeling that we've talked about. And one of those feelings among the other ones is that feeling of the liquid smell filling the back of your nasal cavities, right? That
Mhm.
rose that fills. You've emptied it. You put the cap back on this flask.
Fuck.
You put it back. Why? I don't know. You do.
It's a nice flask.
But the smell doesn't go away. It doesn't evaporate like when you drink really good single malt scotch that almost evaporates on your tongue.
Yeah, uh-huh.
This doesn't evaporate, and then you realize that the smell came from inside, but now it's from outside. So you step out of this conspiracy board office and follow that smell to like a commissary kitchen, like an office kitchen,
Sure.
but it's also been repurposed. And it looks like a chem lab and it reeks of this rosewater smell,
Wonderful. I'm gonna try and find a refill.
which you do.
Good. I refill my flask.
And you do that. And I think the chemistry of this is outside of your wheelhouse.
Yeah,
Is that
this is
fair?
not my lane. This is not my lane at all. All I
So,
know is that the beaker at the very end is the one that I want.
but it's impressive and very scientific, except for in the very middle of this twisted maze of tubes and Bunsen burners and everything, you see something that you do remember from your childhood, which is a very traditional small container that would hold holy water. And you very quickly realize that whatever contraption this is, at some point passes over and includes this before it reaches the end. You find the rose petals that you anticipated. You fill your flask. There are several more offices left.
Well, let's not stop now. Keep exploring.
I haven't even begun to spend a 7 roll.
Damn. There's so much.
Yeah, that was a great roll. Right. We gotta give
Give
full
props where they're
credit
due.
for that. Yeah. Instinctively, you open offices knowing they're empty, knowing they haven't been used or repurposed. You open one office and it has been obviously repurposed for sleeping. You see cots, you see sleeping bags, 3 of each. And you piece together very quickly that this wasn't used last night. Someone These 3 people have been here for months, and this is where they slept.
Uh-huh.
And the only thing that really stands out is the Bible under one of the cots. Everything else is rather nondescript.
Odd. Seems we have a devotee. She reaches and grabs the Bible.
You grab the Bible, out of instinct, you flip open the front cover, and it says, "To you, best of luck, my son. Father Loretti, you will do great things." Signed, Cardinal Sampson.
Hmm.
Obviously, Father Loretti is the name of the captive that we've heard.
Yeah. All right. Close it. Put it back. Make the sign of the cross. Questions herself. Forget it. And continues on.
As you continue on this instinctual courage you've had throwing doors open suddenly stops because you know you have now reached the foreman's office, the head office, whatever it is. This is the end of the hallway. This is the most important office on the front end of the second floor of this room. All the other doors have been either slightly ajar or wide open.
Hmm.
This one is closed. And the final 7 points that you rolled on Sense Trouble tells you bad things are on the other side of this door.
Great.
You've cleared the front half of the second floor of this building. This is what's left. And out of just, did you hear something? Did you smell something? You don't know. You just know bad news is on the other side of this door.
Well, Sinclair would want to scope the place out and sit in Elizabeth for another 42 hours and watch the comings and goings of every individual who might be beyond this door, but Sinclair's not here anymore. And besides, he always did love it when I made an explosive entrance. Um, I, in my little bag of tricks, I'd say it wouldn't be odd if Layla may or may not have a flashbang.
So we've established that you do keep flashbangs. The question is, you definitely didn't you're not toting this duffel bag around,
No, I'm
right?
not. Nope.
And fuck it, you have it. Yeah, I can't imagine a world
Where
where
she
you wouldn't have
wouldn't.
brought it.
Yep.
So she pulls the flashbang
Mhm.
out of one of the pockets on her belt.
And gets the piece and pistol ready. And slowly, very carefully, goes to try the door to see if it's locked.
Oh, it's locked.
Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? All right. It takes a few very careful steps back. Gets ready. Damn it, Sinclair. You were always the one to breach the door. I better put my shoulder out this time, and, rushes the door, hits it with her shoulder as hard as she possibly can, pulls the pin on the flashbang, and goes to throw it. Hopefully, I've opened the door.
I got
Craig
we gotta talk
Craig!
logistics a little bit. So Layla's got flashbang in one hand,
Mhm.
pistol in the other,
Yep.
rugby
Gonna
shoulder
gonna rugby shoulder that door.
into the door. It's
Give it
gonna give.
give
Right.
it that old college try.
So the door is gonna fly open, and there's no person closer to the flashbang than you.
Yep.
How is Layla doing this? That's the only thing I need to figure out. How does Layla not get flashbanged?
Fun fact, Craig, she does.
So here's what happens.
Mhm.
Boom, the door flies open. It's dark. You know there's people in there.
Mhm.
You know there's more people than you in there.
Yep.
You throw the flashbang and slide it on the floor. The room almost takes up the width of the entire warehouse. It's large. You hear it slide. You know it's going to pop. As you're sliding on the ground, you cover your eyes.
Mhm.
It's not going to stop you from being flashbanged, but it might
I'll
get
I'll
you
s
better off than
it'll
everybody else in the
it'll
room.
be better off. I did have a thought.
Let's hear it.
I am a super secret spy.
Of course.
I know how flashbangs work. I've been flashbanged before.
You
It's not
have.
fun.
Just recently at the church.
Just recently at the church, it was also not great. But having had 2 gunshots go off in my ear pretty much simultaneously over the night, my hearing's already pretty shot. So, I'm alright with being, having that concussive
Yep.
noise and the tinnitus for later. Um, I know the room is dark. I know
Mhm.
there's way too many of them for me to handle alone.
Mhm.
I need to know where they are, where they're standing, and I can't do that without a light. And the only light in
Okay.
the room is gonna be the flashbang. So I'm gonna risk flashbanging myself to get pinpoint accurate location of each person in the room and fire off as many shots as I can in that 5 to 10-second instance before I am just
5 to
absolutely
10
blinded.
seconds. What world do you live in, Zoe? How about 5/10 of a second? You
I'm a super
sl
secret spy.
you slide across the floor,
Mhm.
throwing it, knowing the only chance you have is that your reflexes, knowing the flashbang is gonna go off, is gonna be faster than everybody else in the room who didn't know it was gonna go off, and maybe you can take down 2 of them before you're blinded.
Yep.
We hear the scraping of the metal of the flashbang. Scrape, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. You're sliding on your back, gun ready
Mhm.
for the flash.
Yes.
It goes. We go to credits. We'll be back.
Ah, shit.
I'm not sure where to start. So I'm going to start here, and you follow me if you can, Zoe.
Mhm.
One of the things that brought us together is is as being fellow GMs. And
Yes.
the first time that we ever interacted was me as a player, you as a GM.
Mhm.
And there's a long story why we ended up here, but I imagine as you as a GM, you're always when you're a player, you're a player. But there's always the little GM right in the back of your head. So where are you as a GM 4 episodes in? Do you have thoughts? Do you have questions? Is there any pull the curtain aside? Like where's GM Zoe 4 episodes in?
Oh, GM Zoe is absolutely delighted by all of the twists and turns that you have thrown at player Zoe, because player Zoe is on the edge of her seat, just holding on for dear life with fingertip grip on this story. Because when she thinks that it's over or that she's solved it, you just twist it on its head and completely change the perspective, which GM Zoe cackles with delight, because that is exactly what you should be doing.
Yeah. So I love that, right? And that's part of the joy of being the player and the GM. What stands out has there what's been the biggest surprise for you 4 episodes in?
The
What
fact of how ruthless Layla is. I as GM Zoe, I was like, "All right, cool. I've been presented with my arch nemesis slash best friend, and I'm gonna go to their house and I'm gonna find out. Oh, hey, maybe GM Brain says they're either on my side or they're not on my side, and if they're not on my side, maybe I can get them back on my side."
Yeah.
Player Zoe is like, "Oh, I don't give two shits. I'm not
So
gonna do
let
anything about that."
let I wanna go slow mo on that, right?
Mhm.
So where can you walk me through players always I'm talking to you like you're a third person.
It's
Can
fine.
you walk me through your thought process? Because I I was 30% she's gonna kill him, 70% she's gonna do something else. So I was surprised when you put the gun and shot him.
Yeah,
But I
I
but
was
I
too.
yeah, so what was the thought process? What in the scene, in the moment, in the description, in the world we built together said Layla's gonna shoot him in the
Honestly, it was kind of a split-second decision, because I had set it up in, and this is a little bit behind storyteller brain too, because
Yep.
as I'm seeing this, it is cinema in my head. I am watching the movie of Night's Black Agents, of Layla entering into this man's house, remembering all those memories and quick flashbacks that are like, you've got the empty room, but then there's like an overlay of this cloudy, foggy memory of where things used to be. And so him walking in and being completely nonchalant and not frantic of like, "Layla, where have you been? Like, we've been looking all over for you," this, that, and the other thing. And just him being cold and calm and collected set off to me that, oh no, he I'm like 80% sure that he's been turned
Mm,
and he is a vampire and I need to kill him. And then when you said the word master, I'm like, that's it. I gotta do it.
yeah.
And I didn't even realize I was doing it until I had set up that whiskey glass. I had originally had it in my head that maybe there isn't whiskey in there. Maybe the rose water is in there.
Ooh, good thought. Yeah.
Maybe she switched it and did the
I
old
was trying to figure
switcheroo.
out your fixation on this.
Mhm.
That makes total sense, and
That
here and just GM, so you know, this is something you have to keep in mind as a GM, is that you never know what path your players are gonna go, right? Like, I never would have imagined that Zoe would have thought that, but you follow them, right? You follow
Mhm.
them and there's whiskey in there, and now Zoe takes it. Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's
Yep.
yeah. So you
Yep.
find out there's whiskey in there.
You find out there's whiskey in there, and I was like, "Okay, cool." If he if he's showing signs of fighting it, if he's showing any kind of indication in the small interaction that I have with him, if Craig gives me just a millimeter that Sinclair is still in there and is still fighting, then boom, I'm going the Rosewater route. There's Rosewater in that whiskey glass. I'm not gonna shoot him.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna kill him. But you never gave me that. You were so cold and so calculated and so calm that it's like, "Nope, I gotta go to the other avenue. I gotta go the hard route." And that was it. He took the you said he took the whiskey glass and shot it back, and I'm like, "Great. Here you go."
And so here's where player Craig comes in because player Craig is in Sinclair's body at that moment, right?
Mhm.
And just piecing together what you we know together, but what you don't know, it all made sense to me that Sinclair would see you tumbling out of the back of that, escaping from his enemies. He saw you escape from them,
Yep.
right? And so in Sinclair's mind, now that she is here, we might be okay. Maybe she came to her senses. So when he walks in there, he's a thrall as well. He smells you.
That was the first indication. I was like, "Oh, he smells me. He's been turned."
Yeah. And in my mind, playing Sinclair, I'm like, everything's this is fucking fantastic. Right?
Everything's coming up roses.
Yeah, you come out and sure, she's gonna be have the gun, whatever. She doesn't remember everything. And like you are not a threat to him.
Mhm.
And your reassurance and your proficiency and reassurance and the casualness of you walking up, like it all made sense to me. It's why, and again, here's another GM thing. Am I going to make Zoe roll for Layla to point blank, distracted, kill this guy? No. There's no question in my mind that there is no world where this doesn't happen, where she does not take him off guard and everything. All right. So many questions. We got a so now let's talk about because there's a lot more you know now than you did at the end of
Mhm.
episode 3, right? We've got what I'm going to call the Carlisle faction, which is the woman, the people in the van. She says he's a good master. He's the only, Djokovic is the savage. We've got Djokovic, who is, you're told, is an animal, is savage, is awful. The one little information that backs that up is the brutal murder of the person who was in your charge.
Mhm.
You've got whatever the hell's going on in that church. Where are we right now? And I even mentioned the Slayers, right? So these three
Mhm.
hunters, this the priest, this mystery woman who you don't know nothing about yet, and the dead doctor. And I think I'm talking to Zoe, not Layla, right? So
Okay.
where are you? What the fuck is going on?
Oh my god. I You tell me, Craig. I don't know what's going on anymore. I'm just sitting here eating popcorn going, "I wonder what happens next." Um No, but I do have a good idea. Like storyteller brain again is like, okay, cool. There's a few outcomes that can happen now. One of them being something that Layla came to the conclusion of and not me, and I was like, oh man, I didn't even see that avenue, was that she is in fact the master and they're all hunting her, but for some reason it's been altered in her brain chemistry that it's actually Djokovic that's the master,
Mhm.
and we got to hunt him down. Um, so that's one avenue. Is that come to find out, Layla is the master vampire, is the mastermind behind all of this, and she just doesn't remember.
Mhm.
The second avenue is that Djokovic is the bad guy. He is the one that orchestrated all of this. We got to go hunt him down, which means that Layla has to go get help because she can't do it by
Yep.
herself.
Yep.
That whole day of her going around to all these places, that was Layla making allies and prepping for the "I'm gonna go take Djokovic down"
Mhm.
uh, plot. And then there's the alternative plot, which is I don't even know. Like she could show up and Djokovic could be a joke.
Mm.
Like, he's not this all-powerful thing. He is an instrument to this big, grander plot. He's a thrall by himself, but has been, made to be the master to allay suspicion off of this other bad guy here. Like, storyteller GM brain is like, "How is Craig spinning this? Because I have my own conspiracy board in my head of, like, where could this go?" And I'm excited to see which avenue we take.
So specifically, I wanna get a sense of what your thoughts are on these slayers, right? So 2 1 we know 'cause we met him and watched him die.
Yeah,
1
rip.
we've found his Bible, we've heard talk of the father,
Mhm.
this young priest, and a 3rd woman we know nothing about. Where do the slayers play into this? They're the ones that provided this rose water. Where are they in
They
this play?
they, like, gave me the I imagine they gave me the picture of the crucifix, or they know about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's in my possession for a reason.
Well, the doctor mentioned it,
The
right? The
doc
doctor was
doc
familiar with it.
doctor was very familiar with it. So I'm, like, wondering if they've been, like, a secret organization this whole time of working in the underground in the back part of this world, just doing what it is that they do best, and Layla just happens to be roped into it. And I'm wondering if like Layla is their only in to reach Djokovic
Right.
without having to risk thralling one of their own people. um Like, maybe this rose water was a prototype, a test to see if it would, in fact, give a little bit of agency back to the thrall, which obviously it's working. And so now they're mass producing it. Um, and the conspiracy board that I've seen is all of them just trying to pinpoint and keep track of Djokovic's coven, for lack of a better word,
Mhm.
um, and keep tabs on who his thralls are, where he has turned them, how he's turned them, and who his big players are. One of those big players being Layla.
Yeah. All right. So last but not least, something you and I talked about during the break that I want to talk about now. We have had a lot of fun collaborating on this story. And one of the things that I wanted to really bring out was the fact that I think there's moments where you and I, as GM and player, knew we were collaborating and riffing, but I think it was so seamless that I'm not sure everybody else realizes, right? So I'm going to call out a few moments. There's several moments during the hospital sequence. There were several moments during the Sam sequence in the second episode. The most recent version of that was two things. One, the entire globe thing. That was all you. And I just followed you, right?
Mhm.
And to be clear from a GM perspective, guys, when you have a trust with your player or players, this doesn't have to be a one-on-one thing. I had Zoe gone off trail too far, I would have brought her back, right? I would have said, No, I'm with you. Let's keep playing, but like
Mhm.
we got to bring it back a little bit, or we're gonna like miss everything, right?" That didn't happen here, right? So I was able to follow her the whole way. Um, the other place where that happened was with the memory thing after we killed Sinclair. And like, I just let you go. And when for those of you watching, when you heard Zoe talking about all those memories, those were all Zoe. That is nothing her and I've talked about beforehand. And then you saw me take the vacation thing and turn that into her meeting Djokovic. Like I knew beforehand that Djokovic had met her. I knew that it was a seduction, but not even a sexual seduction. It was
Mm,
a relief seduction for Layla, where my life has always been on the edge. My life has always been hard, and this person was a pillow. This person was safety, right?
mhm.
And all Zoe did was set the stage for me. I'm going on vacation. Boom. That's where she meets Djokovic. That's where it happens. And then she allowed me to put a little knife twist and salt in the wound to then take that moment to expose something that I already knew, which was Layla's the one that exposed Sinclair, not the other way around. And you and I talked about a little bit. There's a ton of trust there. And 7C, which you're very familiar with, very much encourages this type of play. That's a lot of Craig talking.
It's
Um,
okay.
for those people that enjoyed that, Zoe, what do you think players and GMs can take away from that if they want to do what you and I did? So, what was in place for us that allowed what I thought was one of the more incredible RPG moments I've had, which was total jazz riff, and we ended up in a great place. What allowed that to happen?
The first and most crucial part of that kind of established trust is that we had a session 0. We
Yeah.
had a a safety net in place, right? We had boundaries and clear lines and veils. And you've heard me talk about this a lot. If you listen to my podcast at all, have a whole episode on safety in gaming. And because that safety net is in place and it's anchored and it's established, there is nothing but explicit trust between you and I in the storytelling because we know where those lines are. And if we even deign to look at where they are in the distance, we'll check in with each other and go, "Hey, is this crossing a boundary?" And it's either, "Yes, this is, let's move on," or, "No, no, no, you're good, keep going." And there's kind of like an unspoken um, language in that.
Mhm.
Uh, Craig knows where not to step his boundaries, and I know not to push him to anything that would make him uncomfortable. And because of that, we can riff off of each other all day long. All day long. The game would run itself.
Yeah. It's very true, and the only thing I'll add to that is and it's something you and I have talked about, I think, off mic before, which is safety tools are so often talked about as being restrictive. They're incredibly liberating. By
Yes.
having safety tools in place, then, like, "Okay, good. We know the pitch now. Let's play ball."
Yeah.
Right?
There's so much freedom in
Oh,
knowing that you have that safety net there.
so much freedom. So tapping into you running games like Seven Seas, when you're riffing with players, it's and not purposefully, a player can get out of bounds, right? They
Sure.
can take things in a direction that doesn't make sense to you, doesn't make sense to the world.
Mhm.
How do you we haven't had to do that in this session. We were on the same road the whole time, but I'd be interested from a GM technique standpoint. Let's say we're riffing and I say, and the penguin is purple. And you're like, yeah. Like, how as a GM do you still, you don't want to slap the player on the nose and say, don't do
Mhm.
that, right? How do you bring them back in? And how do you say, this is great. We're not doing that, but let's keep going. How do you handle that?
It's a little bit of misdirection
Mm,
and a little bit of, I guess you could call it GMing sleight of hand. Um,
interesting.
I never try to tell my players outright no.
Hmm.
There have been very few instances where that has happened, and that's usually because a safety boundary was crossed.
Right.
That's about the only time that I will outright stop the game and be like, "No, that's not happening." And that's for safety. Again, once
Yep.
that's established, you really shouldn't have to do that, especially with, trust among your table and your players. But if a player is starting to go kind of like off in left field and off in their own little head canon of how the world works or how things have been established, it's it's up to the GM and sometimes other players too if they're astute and like the note takers are really good at this.
They
Um
are, God bless them.
oh God bless the note takers. We love you. um it takes a little a certain finesse to reel them back in. And so I tend to go, "Okay. So walk me through what your thought process is on this. Why is this character doing this? What are they feeling right now? What is much how like you do with me, what's the emotion going right now? What's going on?"
I just realized we did this. We did this
Mhm.
with the flashbang, didn't we?
Yep. Yeah, you actually did. I was actually gonna say something. It was the
Yeah.
flashbang, and and that was a little that was me. That was just me going off into, like, fantasy land of, like, "I'm a super spy. I don't get flashbanged. It's fine." Craig's like, "Hey, I need you to come down to earth just a little bit. That's
It's a
not how
great
flashbangs
example of
work."
what you're saying, though.
But yes, it is just as as they are want to do, players are going to go off and do their own thing, and it's up to the GM to kind of like bring it in, but not in a way that breaks immersion. um because once immersion is broken, it's actually really hard to get back into it. You usually have to step away and come back to it afterwards. But you do an incredible job of keeping the immersion and asking me those pointed questions of going like, all right, what are you going? What's Layla thinking right now? What's Layla feeling? Because that keeps me in one, and two, keeps me grounded in what's going on. So even though I did kind of go off way in left field with the flashbang, you still kept me in the scene,
Mhm.
and it wasn't you and I arguing over the semantics of how flashbangs actually legitimately work.
Yeah, you've lost. If that's where you end up, you've already lost,
You've
and
already lost.
yeah,
You need to step away. You need to
yeah.
take a break, come back to it later.
No, I completely agree. All right, last but not least, we got at least one more episode left, maybe 2, we'll see have to see how things play out. Um, we'll do stars and wishes. So stars is just your highlight reel. Like, what was the best 1 or 2 moments of episode 4? And then wishes will be what is Zoe the player wishing to see happen in 5 and potentially a 6.
Potentially
So let's
6.
start with stars.
Oh man. Honestly, it's got to be the total badassery of Layla in the moment where she is told that she has a choice, and then in the next instance is told that there is no choice, that I'm making the choice for you, and Layla going, "Oh, no, 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 that's not how this works. I'm gonna make the choice for both of you."
I loved that.
Unfortunately, it did end in the death of the doctor, which was something that I kinda didn't want, but I kind of expected to happen.
Yep.
Um, but in that moment, Layla, regardless of her circumstances, no matter how down and out she is, when the chips are down, she always decides for herself how things are going to go, and I love that.
I loved it so much. I did not see it coming, which is my favorite moments usually when I'm
Mhm.
running a game. And but it made total sense to me and it was super revealing. We learned so much about Layla in that moment, which is I'm not giving up agency. This may not be the smartest move, but it's my move. And
Mhm.
how revealing was it for us together to discover like this is what she does, and it was amazing. So that big star for me too. I'm with you on that one. Any other stars?
Ugh, the I I used to be a terrible, hater of dice and how they decided my
Mm,
fate. It's why I kind of strayed away from systems that relied heavily on dice rolls, why I run 7C.
yep.
Uh, but in this instance, with Layla having just committed the act of killing her partner, um, the dice knew what they were about. And if I had been given a choice to say, "Hey, in 7C, there's a mechanic called you fail." If I had been given that choice, Craig, you said, "Hey, you can fail this if you want," I would have failed it. I would have absolutely failed it because the story demanded that Layla be unstable in that moment.
Do not ask for dice as a GM unless both failing and succeeding are interesting. And in
Yes.
my mind, Zoe, the reason that I wanted that to happen, it was the first ability test that's happened in this entire
Ever.
horror
Yeah.
game we played, right?
Yes.
It was because I thought we're going to get one of two things. We're going to get Layla getting grounded in a way she has not been grounded since we've met her, which is just like, which is what happened with the failure, right?
Mhm.
Or I thought it would be very interesting to see her succeed and a whole ice layer form over her
Yep.
as she becomes colder and rationalizes it. And I'm like, you know what? Either way, this is going to be great. Let's freaking roll the dice.
That
And,
is exactly my mindset as well.
yeah. Yeah. And so when you're thinking about that, but then you saw me several times pull back. You saw me go for the dice and pull back because there's,
Mhm.
and what pulled me back was just like, it's not interesting.
Yeah.
It's not this is gonna happen. Her not picking the lock to Sinclair's apartment, she fails that, like, what are we gonna do? She's gonna go break a window, right?
Yeah, I'm just
Like,
gonna go
that's
climb in the window.
and she's a freaking super spy and just like, "Stop it, Craig. Stop
Mhm.
reaching for the dice." But what that does for us is it makes when the dice do come out,
Oh, it's even more intense.
yeah, it's exciting. It's very, very exciting.
Mhm.
All right, so in theory, we've dropped the 7th Sea name a few times. If I wanted to hear people playing 7th Sea while I'm like walking my dog and stuff, where might I go?
I don't know, you could go to any, major podcast catcher, Spotify, Apple iTunes, whatever, Google Podcasts, and, look up The Writers' Room, a 7th Sea podcast, and listen to, a bit of a different story, a swashbuckling adventure, a little bit of magic, a little bit of mystery, tiny, tiny smidge of horror, and, maybe you'll find some similarities of the storytelling aspect between Craig and I in there.
We are having a shit ton of fun. I had a shit
Oh,
ton of
it's
fun
so much it's
playing.
so much fun.
And we're gonna schedule because we got to play again. All right, for those of you watching, thank you for you made it all the way to the end. You know the routine. If you do not want to miss episode 5, and spoiler alert, you don't want to miss episode 5.
Don't wanna miss episode 5. By the way, real quick, wishes for episode 5, I wanna punch Junkovich in the face. I just I don't care how, I don't care why or when or what, but my fist needs to make connection with that man's jaw.
I figured like as soon as I started to smell it, I'm like, she's gonna go right to that goddamn penthouse.
That's what I was I was like, "Oh boy, I just killed my best friend slash potential platonic lover. I'm gonna murder this man."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's gonna be a thing. That's gonna be a thing you don't want to miss. So follow on the socials. You can get all the schedule and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't wait to play again.
Can't wait to see you all again.
Cheers.
Bye.
Howdy, friends. Thank you for watching. All our content is archived and organized in playlists on the Third Floor Wars YouTube channel. Check it out. And if you could like, follow, subscribe, and even set your notifications to this channel on YouTube and Twitch, we'd appreciate it, and it'll make sure that you catch all of our content. I talk with creators, designers, and experts across the gaming landscape in every episode of our podcast, Tabletop Talk. Open up your favorite podcatcher and search for Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars. Support your creators. They make the content you love, and it's your support that makes it happen. If you want to help us, go to Third Floor Wars on patreon.com, and you can help us for as little as $1 a month. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Take care.